My name is Alana Dietze. I am a theater director, actor, and educator, and I work here at Cal State Long Beach. I teach 113, and I also direct shows. This is my fourth production, I believe, directing for Cal Rep. Sometimes the Rain, Sometimes the Sea is a kind of adaptation of The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen, the original fairy tale, not the Disney-ified version that more people know. Um, and it takes the narrative and the story that we know and it upends it by by way of a mysterious narrator who comes into the picture and sort of takes over the story as it's being told and starts to interweave an additional story with it. Um, so that's the big picture sort of plot. And then on a more thematic level, I think it's a play about story and storytelling and how the narratives that exist in our consciousness as a culture shape our values and help us make meaning of our lives, and how they evolve and change as they move from the mind of their creator into the greater world. And then beyond that, how they continue to evolve over time as they are formed and reformed by different people. And then it's also about love and the different forms of love and the way that love can change or can be expressed in different ways. And I think connected with that, it's about seeing and being seen and how we're perceived by others, and how we see the world and those around us, and how that changes who we are. So when I was a little girl, The Little Mermaid, the Disney version, the 1989 animated version, was my favorite movie. I watched it hundreds of times on VHS, and I still, when I think about that story and that particular telling of that story, I feel a lot of nostalgia and love for that narrative, and that particular version of it. But I also, as I got older, I started to wonder how the many times I'd absorbed this story had impacted my own ideas about romance and relationships and sacrifice and literally giving up your voice for another person, which is sort of this core component of that story. And so I've really rethought the meaning of that story over time and how it impacted me as an impressionable young child. And I think that's something that Julia Azumi, the playwright, is also grappling with in her retelling and playing with what it means to sort of to retake a narrative and reimagine it in a way that it serves you if the original telling doesn't. So that was the sort of main sort of thematic thing that drew me to the play. It's also just very whimsical and fun and theatrical, and there were a lot of opportunities in it for creative interpretations in the design work that really appealed to me. And I love working with movement in my directing, and I thought there were some interesting opportunities for that in this, and some really unique problems to solve. I love impossible stage directions, and she has quite a number of those in this play. Yes, we did a lot of movement work on this production, a lot of different forms of movement work, both to help the actors find their character bodies. We have a lot of the characters in this are humans, but there's also a rain cloud and a cow, and we wanted to get the actors to explore what that means, how they can embody a non-human form in a way that's accessible for them and still tells the story the way that we want it to be told. So it was both for the actors individually and then also to create an ensemble vocabulary and dynamic that we could call on in moments where we wanted something more abstract to happen on stage. So, for example, there's an actor who's supposed to evaporate. And of course, we can't literally make a human body evaporate on stage, and we wouldn't want to. So we did a lot of exploration of, well, what is that? How can a person embody the qualities of water evaporating? How can they have that lightness, that airiness, and that sense of dissipation, and imbue themselves with that and express it to the audience in a way that's not literal, but hopefully still tells the story. I had a lot of aha moments working on this play. I think because it's so multi-layered in terms of who's telling the story. We have the primary narrator, and then we have this secondary narrator that sort of takes over. And then there's also characters that seem to have sort of an omnipotent presence and can control the narrative or shape the narrative in certain ways. So there was a lot of unpacking of that and of like whose perspective are we in now as we were working on it, and it was more complicated than I think I realized when I first read the play. I also just like one specific aha moment I remember was in rehearsal one night pretty early on, but once we were on our feet working, one of the actors, Emma, who plays Bessie, has this line, "Wine can really change your perspective." And the way she said it on that particular night, I was like, oh, wine can change your perspective. This is the moment the perspective is shifting in the play. And it's right there on the page, but I'd missed it for some reason. And the way that Emma sort of underlined perspective and said it in this kind of mysterious tone because she's playing the sea witch at that moment, was a light bulb for me in terms of like, oh, okay, she's telling us we were in one perspective and now we're going to a different one. I hope the audience comes away from the show with an appreciation of the different forms of love in their life. I think the friendship in this show is maybe the most powerful love on stage, and I love stories about friendship, so I hope that they appreciate their friends coming out of it. I hope that they come away thinking about the power of story and storytelling and what that does to shape our humanity and our culture, and how storytelling can be impactful in the world. And I hope that they have a good time. I hope that they laugh. I hope that they feel something and go on this journey and are open to the adventure of it. I think one of the challenges of the play that has been tricky for the actors and for me, but I think is also part of what makes it a unique way of telling the story, is the many times the characters break the fourth wall. A lot of the characters speak directly to the audience at one point or another, though not all of them. And we were talking about this last night, this sort of emotional whiplash for the actors of being deeply in a scene and committed to the reality of that scene, and then something will happen in the script that pulls them out, and suddenly they're not quite the character in the scene anymore. They're also sort of the actor on the stage that's like giving the audience information, or reacting to something that another character is saying in a way that's not entirely as the character, but also partly as themselves as the actor. So that's something that we've been challenged by, but I think what we found is that you have to commit fully to each version. That it's like when you're in the scene, you're fully in the scene, you're fully present and engaged with your partner, and you're in the reality world that Julia has created. And then when you're pulled out of it, you're living in that reality and fully giving over and reacting to that as it happens. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll come see Sometimes the Rain, Sometimes the Sea, first performance on October 1st at the Studio Theater.